Hey guys, Tesla Tom, Ludicrous Feed. Thanks for joining us. I've had a couple of hours to myself, and it's dangerous when you've got that time to yourself because you start to think, right? And thinking can be dangerous, as some of you may know. And today's thought is that I'm a little bit concerned that electric vehicles are not going to get cheaper in price. I know that's the current thinking, that everyone is thinking that the electric cars will come down in price eventually with cheaper parts, cheaper batteries. But let me just cite an example. Look at our smartphones, for example. When the Apple smartphone first came out, the iPhone 2G and then the 3G, they were kind of, sub $1,000, at least here in Australia. They were certainly around the $600 to $700 mark for the basic model. And look at the iPhone X now. We're looking like, $1,500 for the iPhone X. Now, that's pretty expensive. That's almost doubled in price in 10 years. And inflation hasn't gone up that much, really. It's come to a point where we're so dependent on the smartphone, right? It's replaced things like the camera, our notebooks, a pen even. It's going to replace our wallet very soon. So, Apple and Samsung and all these other companies have made products that make us dependent on their devices, where we can't live without them almost now. I mean, when I first got an iPhone, people were looking at me going, why do you need an iPhone for? That's ridiculous. Why would you ever need such a device? And I think the same thing is going to happen with cars. There's no incentive for car manufacturers to reduce their price. Think about this, right? Electric cars are so reliable. You won't need to service the car, so that they don't have to make as many parts anymore, any more moving parts. You don't have to pay for petrol anymore. You can charge at home. You won't need petrol stations, service stations. So the industry is going to be geared towards a very reliable product like the electric car. Countries like the United Kingdom and other countries like that, they're going to impose bans on gasoline and diesel engines, in the next decade or two. So eventually, we're going to have to drive electric vehicles, and it'll come to a point where, car manufacturers will just say, well, people need electric cars. Why do we need to make them cheaper? As it stands now, there's a premium. Even today, there's a premium on electric vehicles, right? On just specific models, like, for example, the Renault car that I just reviewed a couple of videos ago. There's a premium on that car. There's no point reducing that price because it's going to cannibalize their own line, their own gasoline line. So I think there's always going to be a premium on electric vehicles, and I think, looking forward into the future, I just cannot see a future where electric cars are cheaper. People are going to need cars. They're going to be so reliable. You don't need to service them. There's no petrol. People are going to be so reliant on their electric cars that manufacturers will just say, well, why should we reduce the price? Why should we reduce the price on a car that we don't need to service, we don't need to supply parts for? So that industry is going to go. So that's just my rant for the day. I think that's going to be a point in the future where, the price of an electric vehicle will be what it is currently today in real terms. It's just going to be a premium on gasoline vehicles, and I think that's where they'll stay. I think it'll just stay at that point, and it won't be cheaper. I mean, look at the Model 3 now, right? That's currently $35,000 US, so probably about $50,000-$60,000 when it gets to Australia. And I think that's going to be the price point for an entry-level electric vehicle. And it might seem expensive in today's terms, where you can get a Toyota Corolla for like $25,000-$30,000. So, you might think to yourself, why would I pay double the price for an electric vehicle? But there'll come a point where the Toyota Corolla, Mazda 3, Ford Fiesta, all those kind of entry-level cars are not going to exist anymore. The same way, no one really buys a compact digital camera anymore, right? I mean, no one carries a camera with them anymore like they used to. Everyone has a smartphone, even though a smartphone costs a lot more money than a compact camera. And you might say, well, I mean, a phone's got more features, right? Well, I think the same sort of argument can be applied to an electric vehicle. An electric vehicle is more reliable. Like I said already, no petrol, no servicing. It's got more features to it. It's got value, added features compared to a gasoline car. And it'll come to a point where we don't need, it'll come to a point where manufacturers will just, charge a premium, and that's where it'll stay. I think that's the cynical side of me saying that. I might be wrong. Look, obviously, things have gotten cheaper over time too. Like computers are now cheaper compared to what they were. But then again, are they really? Are they really though? Because they're kind of, you know, a laptop is still around the $2,000 to $3,000 mark for a decent laptop, which is what they were 10 years ago when I was in university and needing, you know, laptops for the first time for my studies. So yeah, that's kind of my thinking for the day. Look, I could be completely wrong, but as it stands on the 22nd of June, is that today's date? 22nd of June 2018, my very bold prediction is that electric vehicles are not going to reduce in price, especially not in the next decade or so. I could be wrong. Prove me wrong, car manufacturers, prove me wrong, make it mass market, make it cheaper, make everyone buy one, but I just think for the next 10 years or so, it's going to be pretty much a premium on gasoline vehicles until they're phased out. Alright guys, well thanks for watching. Lovely day here in Sydney. The first day after the winter solstice, which means that we should get more sunlight as the days go on. Hope it's nice where you are, and as always, happy charging.